Man, the shot looks so much more colorful now. We have a nice poster and curtains. It's nice. Looks like we're in a nice room. So
we need to crop it a little bit on my side because there's this kind of white space right in here.
But I think it's just that there's nothing on that side.
Yeah.
It just looks like that more because I think everything looks pretty balanced. If anything, we are a little bit leaned towards me on my side.
Yeah.
So, oh well. Hey guys, it's Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films back again with Classic Doctor Who. Last time on Classic Doctor Who, we started The Enemy of the World. What was that one about?
Well, they land back on Earth, if I recall, like in Australia.
Yep.
And they are immediately pursued by some people who are apparently trying to kill them. And it turns out that the Doctor is a doppelganger for this guy who is basically in charge of the world. And although he appears to be doing nice things, he's trying to, grow crops and do this, that, and the other thing. He's also apparently manipulating the environment and trying to take control politically and socially. And so we're still trying to figure out, is he a good guy? Is he a bad guy? But he then ends up killing one of the scientists, so we have to assume he's a bad guy.
Yeah. They are also heavily implying that he caused an earthquake.
Yes, somehow.
Yeah, which, I mean, again, we don't have the full proof on that, but it is heavily insinuated that it was him. And the Doctor is currently working on just getting facts so that he can, I guess, be justified in taking on Salamander. So,
Salamander. I keep forgetting his name. But one of the things we also commented on was the huge difference of accents in this, because, of course, the Doctor and his companions are British, although Jamie is Scottish. And Salamander appears to be Spanish. I guess he's Mexican. Yeah. And then one of the scientists was Hungarian. And then you have the Australians. So, I mean, it's just a symphony of different accents.
Yes. So we lucked out that this was the first one for subtitles.
Yes.
So, today we are going to be watching the last 3 parts of The Enemy of the World. Now, I don't want to, hype us up too much, but I have heard that this is one of the greatest stories of Doctor Who of all time.
Okay.
Not sure if we've quite gotten to that point in the first 3 episodes, but it's still pretty good. So.
We also kind of speculated, if I recall, that this might have been analogous to what the Soviets had done earlier in the 20th century and what the Chinese were trying to do in the late 60s, and this idea of everybody needs to be essentially thinking the same way, and if you do not think that way, you need to be re-educated. And there's this whole thing about collective farming, and we have to do this, this, and this. And if we don't do this, you're, again, an enemy of the people, enemy of the world, basically. So we don't know. Hopefully in these last 3 episodes, we'll see if that bears out.
Yeah. And I think the last thing that we saw was Salamander figuring out that there is some sort of doppelganger out there. So, yeah. I guess that's pretty much it. We might as well hop into the last 3 episodes of The Enemy of the World. Here we go.
Now, did you say this all switches over to color during Pertwee's?
Yes.
Okay. So we have one more season of black and white after this?
Yeah. In fact, I think that's the joke, that the second Doctor regenerated so hard he added color to the world.
Still using cathode ray televisions, of course.
In 2018. Hey man, you could watch Zack Snyder's Justice League on that.
Astrid, you're back. For real? Right.
That is a really atrocious hairstyle.
It really is.
Get a move on. Yes, sir.
If it's going to be that short in the front, it shouldn't be that long in the back.
Yeah.
What about the roof?
No reply yet, Captain. Position A5.
I can't tell if those are actual brick walls or wallpaper brick walls.
They're probably a variation.
It's not real evidence. You mean even this doesn't convince you about Salamander?
I know in the early 80s we used to buy paneling that had like a 1/4-inch thick brick exterior look to it. But it wasn't completely flat, so...
I'll expose him, ruin him, have him arrested, but I won't be his executioner. No one has that right.
Sometimes it's necessary.
No.
Yes, Doctor, yes! When the inducement is strong enough, and in your case, yes. You still want your friends out of danger?
You can't bargain with people's lives like that.
I can.
Real ethical dilemma.
Well,
If you knew Hitler was going to grow up to be what he was, would you have killed him as a child?
no.
A5 reporting in, Captain. Every man's in position, huh? Right, we'll
It
move
does
in.
look
Tell
like
all
wallpaper,
men
doesn't
to
it?
shoot
Yeah.
on sight.
It's that pillar,
I
the
can't
way it
accept
wraps around.
responsibility like that, sir.
You won't have any responsibility unless you do as I say. These people are terrorists. Give the order.
You know, it's not only that guy's haircut, but it's how he carries
All
his
eight
head
positions.
that makes
Shoot
it weirder.
on sight. Forward.
These guys are good.
Shoot to kill, repeat, shoot to kill.
How did that work?
They just didn't look there.
Come on. They were jumping all over the place and they didn't look there.
She's dead.
Good.
Man, I liked her. One more.
Veterans 5.
The records room is out of bounds. I'm not to be disturbed. See that the security locks are engaged.
Very well, sir. For how long, sir?
For as long as I say so.
Yes, sir.
I'm wondering if they darkened in his eyebrows a little bit or fluffed him up. Because he does seem to have, aside from the hair, a different look about him.
Yeah. It kind of looks like they gave him a bit of a tan, too.
Yeah. What in the world?
I really don't know. Is this how he gets to his secret lair? Or it's just a chamber. Oh no, it's how he gets to his secret lair. Why does he need a secret lair?
What sort of records have you got in there anyway?
What did you want to see him about?
Never mind. I just don't like mysteries. Salamander's far too important to lock himself away like this. Anything might happen. A
Yeah,
world
you'd think you could
emergency.
get something from a records room, unless this is like a music
I had
record.
to order you.
Alright, so he's now taken off his caudillo jacket. Appears to be dressed in some kind of overalls.
I've got good news for us.
We can return to the surface?
No, not yet. But I found
Not
another
that good
score of
news.
food. And it's undamaged.
Swan, you've no idea.
Right, I am ready.
This has just added a whole new 8 dimensions to the plot.
Next time, I'm gonna make him take me with him.
No, you know the others didn't come back.
Got to.
Then take me with you. I'd rather die with you up on the surface than live down here without you.
Full power on line 1, Salamander.
Oh, good.
No faults indicated.
Oh, excellent.
So he's scamming them too?
That would be hilarious.
Well, perhaps it's Faria.
Alright, that's episode 4.
Well, that certainly went nowhere where we thought it was going.
Yeah,
Although
so
it may still.
if he is playing whoever these subterraneans are, that's just hilarious. They added a new subplot to explain his motives, but it still couldn't.
Okay, so he's talking about a war that's going on, but we haven't talked about a war that's going on up on the
Yeah.
surface.
They've been down there since 2013. If this is 2018
Yeah.
now. So now when they were originally talking about it, I was like, oh, the radiation and stuff, like, okay, was there some sort of like world war or something? And then I thought, like, maybe it's just a toxic atmosphere now, and I thought, well, that doesn't make sense because there are still people up there that can breathe it, and he's never shown this kind of like weakness before until he got down here. So maybe he is conning them, which is hilarious. So yeah, I really don't know.
Okay, well, obviously in the next episode or the one after that, we'll figure out why these people were down there in the first place and how he is connected. But right now, I mean, talk about a complete and utter shock.
Yeah, that's a complete twist.
But it does, remember, we were speculating that somehow he knew how these earthquakes and floods and fires and things were going to happen. Well, now we know why, but now we don't know who these people are and how they got down there and why he seems to be connected to them in some way.
Yeah, like they can control all that, but why are they doing that? It seems like there's some sort of war on the surface. Like, at first when they were talking about radiation and stuff, I was almost thinking, like, I wonder if these are, like, the faceless ones again, and that's why... And that could be why he's a doppelganger of the Doctor, but that doesn't make any sense. And, of course, they're also talking about radiation, and there's that room with all those, little balls on the wall and stuff, and I was like, is this, like, the Daleks or something? Because they kind of had that, maybe, and then I thought, well, these obviously can't be the Thals. We're on Earth in 2018. That doesn't work. So,
and did you notice he's really the only dark-haired one? Most of them are blonde or light brown-haired. So he really does stick out.
Yeah.
Not only because of his clothing, but because he's got the black hair, and everybody else is very, very pale colored. So
yeah, it's a weird thing that they say, oh, we've been down here since 2013. Immediately, I'm trying to think of what happened in 2013, and then I have to stop myself. Like, wait, no, this is 1968. They didn't know what happened in 2013.
Yeah, this is even all right. So if this is 68,
yeah,
this is still almost 20 years before. Well, it's 10 years before 3 Mile Island and 20 years before Chernobyl. So
yeah,
unless they're anticipating that there's going to be some kind of nuclear accident, but again, that doesn't seem to fit in here.
Maybe
now, it would have made more sense if they had said, we've been down here for 50 years. Because World War II ends with the bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So, there could be a way to say, well, he's telling them, well, that war continued or this, that, the other thing, where the radiation levels would be toxic. But right now, I'm just going, okay, let me see the next episode because I want to know what's going on here.
Maybe it's like Godzilla, where it's like, Godzilla first showed up because of, the bombs and stuff, and he didn't like that. But he showed up like 10 years later, and then he goes on his whole rampage in that first movie and stuff, and it's like, maybe this is just like a delayed effect after the bombs.
Now, I will say this. In the late 60s, we were looking at international treaties to stop nuclear testing. I can't remember when the Test Ban Treaty went into effect, but the United States and the Soviet Union and the British and the French, I want to say there was somebody else. There were like 5 countries that were testing nuclear weapons. The United States was doing it in the South Pacific, which is the rise of the Godzilla movies. The Russians were doing it in Siberia and in areas like that. The British, I don't remember where they were doing it, whether they were doing it in Australia or not. But anyway, this may tie into that, where they're worried that all of this testing will lead to a toxic atmosphere. But again, my memory of that is very, very vague.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Whatever speculation you can come up with now, you sort of have to wait, because in the back of your mind, you're like, well, wait a minute, is he scamming them or not? Yeah. Because it kind of looked like it was the case. But, yeah, I don't know. Like, because they also said, like, oh, well, anyone he takes to the surface never comes back. And it's like, well, is that because they die of radiation, or does he just kill them? Yeah. So, we have many new questions that we weren't ready for. So, I guess the only way to do this is to move on to Enemy of the World Part 5, not Episode 5. So, let's get started.
Let me know the moment the doors are open.
Yes, sir.
Oh yeah, Jamie and Victoria. I completely forgot about them.
They got a week off.
Yeah, seriously.
Good.
Mr. Bruce isn't going to shoot anyone, are you?
Why? Why'd you do that?
Because I think I know what sort of man you are. Honest and reasonable.
Go on.
I gave you back that gun because I trust you. Now I want you to trust me.
You must be a complete fool or very clever.
Well,
Or
I'm
both.
afraid you'll have to make up your mind to that right away.
I must be mad to trust you. I only hope your impersonation of Salamander fools Bennick. If it doesn't, we're in dead trouble. Here, take this. Keep those two in the caravan. Oh, and watch the girl. Come on.
Interesting character of Bruce there.
Well, I mean, he's not exactly a true believer like Bennick is.
Yeah.
Ah, how are we getting on here, huh? Ah, all this. It's a good haul.
Meat fragile.
Stand by to make your reports.
Light as a feather too.
Must be spam.
Eh.
Spam, 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 spam. Hello. What's this then?
Look at the bit of headline there. There!
Control yourself, Swan, you've gone mad!
Holiday liner sinks. You say there's a global war, radiation everywhere. How can there be holiday liners? Tell me how! You've lied to us, haven't you? Haven't
Well,
you?
that ended.
I want to see for myself. You'll be horrified.
Maybe.
The radiation would kill you!
I'll chance that.
This has happened a lot of times.
Yeah, what about all those others who didn't come back?
Yeah.
Don't leave us so soon. We can have a little talk.
Punch him.
You don't think I'm just going to sit here and ask questions, do you?
You must have been a nasty little boy.
Oh, I was. But I had a very enjoyable childhood.
Oh. Well, there you go. Oh.
Now,
Yes, I thought
Victoria,
so.
give him an elbow where it hurts.
Then take his gun.
You've had her murdered too, have you?
Mind you!
Oh, Victoria, don't hit me! Oh, you wouldn't hit your old friend the doctor, would you?
You don't believe me? Oh. Huh.
Only you made me leave it in the TARDIS.
I feel like it's been a while since we've been in a cave.
Where does this lead?
Is she going to get to the entrance of the cave where Salamander and Swan are coming out?
I think so.
Who did this to you?
A man named Salamander.
Hang on a second. I want to see who Colin was. He looks familiar. Nope, sorry.
Okay. That's part 5. Didn't leave us with a whole lot more answers, but
But it is starting to somewhat make sense because
Yeah.
all of the various strands are coming together. And I can't remember who the writer was for this.
David Whitaker.
Yes. Now, we've liked stuff of his before, yes?
I feel like yes. I don't remember anything specific. I think he was like a script editor for a while.
Yeah.
So
Well, this is obviously what I would consider a more adult script. Again, as a teenager, I might have had a hard time following this, but as an adult, I'm looking at this going, this is very well crafted.
yeah.
You know, they set us up one way, took us a complete different way, and now, again, slowly but surely, all the parts are starting to come together so that hopefully in the next episode we get the resolution. So,
Yeah. I mean, it almost feels like there should be 2 more episodes just because of the huge addition to the plot of the underground people and stuff. Like, the Doctor barely has any evidence on Salamander as it is. There's more stuff going on that he still doesn't know about. So,
but the fact that Salamander did not kill Swan now will probably be the link of bringing the underground people to light, and then giving all the
Yeah.
evidence they need of what he's been doing to basically con both of these worlds.
Yeah. Although I imagine he left him there for dead.
Yeah.
But now that Astrid has found him, that he can get him healed.
Yeah.
So it is interesting. Well, first off, that Salamander's plan starts to come undone because he just left a newspaper in the meat box. Like, come on, man. And it happened to be a specific, like, oh, this vacation liner sank. And it's like, and so from that you get, well, if they're at war, how can there be holiday liners? Like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess that makes sense, but still. But also the implication that clearly this has happened, like, 10 times before, because they've said, like, oh, I've had to take people up to the surface before and they never come back. But this guy just does not understand that when he's like, no, I will go to the surface. And Salamander's like, well, you're the one that asked. We'll go up to the surface. I didn't say anything about you coming back, you know? So I thought that was kind of interesting that he puts all this together, but he doesn't piece together that Salamander's the one killing whoever goes up there.
That does seem rather obvious.
Yeah, but maybe he's just...
And again, what I want to know, and I hope they will at least address this even with one line, this group of very Nordic-type Europeans, tall, blonde-haired, light-haired, pale-skinned, and he's the only guy from the New World. He appears to be of Spanish descent, Mexican-American or Mexican. And how does he get mixed up with these people? Did he go down with them in the first place?
Yeah.
Did he send them down in the first place? And so I'm hoping that will get resolved.
You know, it'd be hilarious if he put on the accent. Like, he's actually British. Like, he actually does himself up to look more like that. So when they, like, reveal who he really is, he actually just starts talking like the Doctor, just a bit more menacingly.
Kind of like the Mandarin in Iron Man 3.
Oh, yeah.
Turns out to be a taxi cab driver.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure most of you have seen Iron Man 3 by now.
Probably.
So.
And it's not like that was the greatest twist or movie they ever made, so... although I liked Iron Man 3. It was alright, but still. Yeah, I guess... I will say, with you looking at who plays Colin, I will say I can't place his accent completely, because sometimes it sounds like, you remember, like, I guess the Americans that were in Tomb of the Cybermen, and they're really crazy. Oh, we gotta go do this, Jim. That sort of voice. It sounds like that, but also he's slipping into British every so often. So it's like every time he talks, I'm taken out of it a bit. So, and also because it's a bit of a deeper voice, it doesn't sound like it should be coming out of this kid. So.
Oh, I thought Colin looked a little bit like Michael Crawford, who went on later to be in Phantom of the Opera.
I'm sure we'll find proof in the records room.
Maybe, but that's where Salamander is.
Ah. Well, we shall have to wait till he comes out, won't we?
Kick him.
001 Forrester.
Tell him where I am and just say Redhead.
Redhead.
Redhead, is that clear?
Redhead. Is that your wife?
It's our emergency call.
Sorry.
Do either of them know how to work a phone?
I've come to help you.
I know they have cleaning instruments.
Salamander.
He built it. He always uses it when he comes up.
Yes, I know, to try and convince you for some reason or other that there's radiation above ground.
Ashford is so done with this plot line.
Whoa! What war? After what you've told me, you must confront the man who started all this. Face to face.
Glad we have the subtitles. That would have been hard to hear.
Yeah.
Same clip reversed.
Oh, look! Here's another surprise for you. Look behind you.
Astrid, you've come just in time.
It's too late, Giles. I know everything.
That's him. That's the man who took us down there in the first place.
Giles Kent, we thought you were dead.
Now look, I've never seen these people before in my
They
life.
told me everything. You and Salamander were in it together. You built an atomic shelter took some people down for an endurance test. The next...
I demand a trial, Bruce. Fair trial.
What a nasty little man you are, to be sure. Forrester?
But now...
No! No! You'll die with me.
No! No!
Hey, Doctor, you all right?
Or is that Salamander?
I don't think there'd be anything left of him.
But you said we would never to touch the controls.
Quite right, Jamie. Welcome to the TARDIS.
Thank you. You're doing so well impersonating me. I thought I might return the compliment.
And Giles Kent?
Unfortunately, didn't survive the explosion.
How
We're
did
going
you?
to put you outside, Salamander. And now I'm going to kill you.
No, you don't. Oh.
Well, Jamie tried. Oh, now this makes sense. Just fell into the space-time continuum.
All right.
Okay. Well, you know what I just remembered? The next episode is the Web of Fear, and that is exactly how that starts off, is they're, like, crashing in the TARDIS. I just remembered that at the last second. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Again, very well crafted. It's kind of like when we were setting up the Ice Warriors. We couldn't figure out where it was going in the first 3 episodes, and then it took a completely different track in the next 3. But this one, again, yes, much better written. Twist upon twist upon twist upon twist right there at the end.
Yeah, and I didn't expect that Kent was actually, like, also behind it all. So
Yeah, that no indication of that whatsoever.
yeah, no, it was like, oh no, I just heard it from them. It was you, and it's like, wait, when did they say that? Was that on the write up? When was this? You skipped over that part. So, but I mean, I guess at the very least, it does confirm they were making the natural disasters to control the world, basically.
Yeah.
So that at least makes sense. So, okay, that was a lot. That was definitely a lot, but very good, very good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. Well, the first thing I wrote down was the blackmail, which obviously is how Salamander was able to take over and get so many people, like Faria, was in order to blackmail them, which makes sense. Is, I guess, pretty classic tactics of controlling people and taking over.
I still would have liked just a brief explanation of where Salamander came from in the first place. You know, just to say that he is from the Yucatan, if I recall correctly, last week they said he was from the Yucatan. But how did he get hooked up with Giles Kent, and how did the two of them contrive this plan?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that they did it makes perfect sense. You know, one guy is basically the brains, the other guy is the brawn. But again, something about why they had done that in the first place would have settled, the last little bits of doubt that we have about this.
Just a little bit more backstory,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So, let's see. We did have the question of, should the Doctor kill Salamander? Which now, obviously, that question was being posed by Kent. It's very clear why he wanted Salamander dead. But I do like that, and not only just the question of killing, but just the question of violence. I can't remember what the other instance was, but there was another instance where the Doctor said, no, we don't need to do this violently, basically. It might have been like to get into the research center. We don't have to do this violently. Or maybe it was like when he got Bruce to trust him. So I like that. That is pretty classic for the Doctor, his whole character. Which, again, that's his rule. He's opposed to violence and he's opposed to killing. And every so often that rule just gets a little flexible. You just sort of ignore that. But here, very much in force. So, which I was trying to think, like, because we don't really get a whole lot of that sort of talk with the first Doctor. And I was thinking, like, okay, well, I mean, obviously I feel like the first Doctor would still have been opposed to violence. I mean, remember it was the gunfighters when everyone kept giving him a gun and he just kept giving it back to other people. So
now, that being said, you'll notice that a lot of people died in this serial.
Yeah.
I mean, not the least of which, right there at the end, even though he's the bad guy, Giles Kent was shot at point blank range, and we actually saw blood. I think that's one of the first times where we've actually seen somebody wounded, and then he does this, and he's got that big splotch of blood on him.
Yeah.
And then now we saw Katarina get unfortunately blown out into space, but here he gets blown out into space and time.
Well, yeah, like because that was the thing. I was like, oh, okay, so they're all like, oh, hang on, and he gets knocked out of the TARDIS on Earth as it takes off. But no, that looked like he was knocked out into the space-time continuum. So who knows where he could have landed if he is still alive at the end of all that. Yeah. So,
but there was a lot of violence during this. A lot of people getting shot, and the thing at the end there where you assumed for a moment that Salamander had been crushed by the explosion. And Swan, although we never saw him get hit, when Astrid went back in there, I mean, the man had blood pouring down the back of his head.
Yeah.
And then dies from it, so.
Yeah, a lot more blood in this one. And I also thought it was interesting that, not only do we see Salamander kill someone, but we see him, like, take joy in it, and he, sort of chases down Kent and then shoots him again. And I kind of thought, that's got to be a little strange, because this is not just some villain. This is still Patrick Troughton playing him. Like, you would think that, I don't know, maybe... I mean, I've seen a lot of episodes of, like, the Sarah Jane Adventures, which is a more kid-oriented show, or just for younger audiences. And sometimes they do something where I'm like, wow, I can't believe they did that on a kid show. Like, in America, especially, when I was growing up, it's like we were so protective of children. Like, when I was growing up, that this wouldn't exist. Like, you can't refer to death. It has to be like the Shadow Realm or something like that. So maybe it is that, maybe the British are a bit more hardcore than Americans, but to have, especially in the 60s too, to have your main actor that happy about killing someone, that seems like, I almost don't know how that was able to fly.
Well, again, by the late 60s, television was changing.
Yeah.
Things that we would not have seen in 1963, if you're watching it in 68 or 69, we have seen not only other science fiction, but police dramas and things like that where people are getting killed all the time. So that may be part of it. But that was kind of odd to show, especially Kent with that gigantic splotch of blood where he had just been shot. So, anyway. But, I mean, it doesn't take away from the enjoyment of the episode and from the writing. It's just that's kind of striking because that's the first time we've really seen this.
Well, and also, too, I mean, it does show how much the show has grown up with its audience. Like, okay, this is the 5th season now, and this is... Well, on Amazon it says this is technically the 22nd episode, but I actually don't think that counts the 6 episodes of The Ice Warriors. This would be about 28 episodes into the 5th season. And, we started off with, like, cavemen, and if someone died there, it was always like, they reel back and then they do it, but the camera moves away. You just hear a scream and that's it. Or the Daleks, they have their ray thing. They didn't even kill anyone, or more just paralyze them in that first one. So it definitely shows that, well, whoever was watching in 1963 is 5 years older. So now let's tell stories for those kids that are 5 years older now. So that's all pretty interesting. And again, just the whole thing of, the question of should the Doctor kill? Should he, resort to violence? I feel like that ties more into the second Doctor becoming a bit more of a hero than the first Doctor ever was. Because again, every time I think back to something with the first Doctor, he was always very reactionary. He was never proactive. He just sort of went along with the story, and maybe his companions were more of the heroes, but he never really was. Until maybe towards the end with like the war machines and stuff. But this Doctor is more proactive. He is more the hero, and even if he has to sort of justify, should I get involved? Should I try to, have Salamander arrested? He still will not kill him, basically.
And by the way, bringing up something from last week, we were talking about, were they ever going to get Salamander and the Doctor in the same shot?
Yeah.
You'll notice that right there at the end, when Salamander was talking, the Doctor's back was to the camera. That was obviously the stand-in, and they filmed the two Salamander responses and then the two Doctors. But there was that one scene when they leaned over the console and you had Salamander on top and the Doctor, that you could almost see the splice between the two of them. But I thought that was still very well done. For the late 60s, that would have been very well done.
Yeah. Because they even did have a bit of a struggle, too. Yeah. Just keeping, whoever the stand-in was with that Troughton wig, just sort of keeping them so you don't see their face. So it all worked out really well. So let's see. The next couple notes all deal with like the secret lair and the radiation and stuff like that. So the whole story is that Salamander and Kent created this like nuclear test bunker, took some people down there, and then once they got down there, they were like, oh, guys, there was a war. We can't go to the surface anymore. And so, we'll go to the surface, but don't worry about it. Like, you need to stay down here for your protection. Somehow that did actually fool them, and they stayed down there creating the natural disasters for them so that Salamander could take over the world.
Yeah.
I would like to know their logic of the natural disasters, like because they knew what they were doing. They knew the natural disasters were happening, but they thought there was like a barren, desolate world up there.
Yeah.
So because they never said like, well, we're making all these natural disasters to clean the planet or something.
Yeah.
However that would
control
work.
The savages up above or something.
Yeah, or like,
and maybe we missed that.
Maybe it's possible. It's one of those things like, before we could say, oh, well, sometimes it's hard to hear, but now we have subtitles, so it gets a little more difficult to say, oh, we missed something. It's like, well, you should have read it in the subtitles, but that's all right. So yeah, I'm not sure like what they thought they were doing with the natural disasters, but at least we know the story. Like, okay, yeah, these people were conned into doing all this stuff for Salamander
and Kent, and then somehow Salamander turns against Kent, and Kent, master manipulator, literally from episode 1, manages to convince everybody that he's a good guy, and then he turns out to be one of the bad guys.
Right. He basically, I guess it's just that he convinces Astrid and those guys that were in the hovercraft, convinces them, and then everything, he can basically start this true plan to get rid of Salamander once he is introduced to the Doctor. Yeah. So, I still just don't understand how there are doppelgangers of different Doctors. Like, we had the Abbot for the first Doctor, we have Salamander for the second Doctor. There's no explanation. There probably never will be an explanation.
There are just people who look like that.
Yeah, so it's just that the Doctor can actually go meet them.
Now, in the next serial, if we're going back to Web of Fear, I sent you that picture of me where I swear I am a doppelganger for Lethbridge Stewart.
Yes, we can. I'm pretty sure I still have that email too, so I'll put that up. Boom, right there. There's the picture.
I was playing Sir Wilfrid Robards in Agatha Christie's Witness for the Prosecution. Had short hair, brushed back, nice little clipped mustache, no beard, and of course 40 years younger. But again, I think when you see it, you'll see the resemblance.
Yeah, possibly. So you didn't have a beard. That must. When did you grow your beard?
The first time was when I was in Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. I was playing Aegeus, who is supposedly the oldest man in the cast. I was 20. And so I needed to make myself look older. And I'd had a mustache since I was a sophomore in college. but I thought, well, I'll give the beard a try just to see if it makes me look older. Grew it, liked it a lot, and I have really, since that time, had a beard more often than I have not. You may remember you freaked out the last time I shaved it off, which was when I played Teddy Roosevelt back in 2007 in the Oklahoma Centennial. Shaving off the beard, I look completely different.
Well, yeah, because as far as I can remember, you've had a beard.
Yes.
So the first time you shaved it off, it looked wrong. So.
Well, I think I've only had it off once in your entire lifetime, and that was then.
Yeah.
I don't recall needing to shave it off. The last time I would have shaved it off would have been if I were doing a play, I took a hiatus from acting between 97 and 2007. So yeah, it would have been before you were born. So only once in your lifetime have I had the beard off.
Yeah, and it's weird. Don't do it. I
won't.
Keep it. I have thought I don't know why I've thought this would I ever shave my beard off? And then I think, no, I can't. I have had this since 2014. I grew the beard at almost the exact same time I made this YouTube channel, actually. So they're about the same age, and I've never shaved it off since then.
Because I think in that picture from Pikes Peak in 2013, was the year before you grew it.
Yeah,
and you've had it since then.
Because I was a senior in high school when I grew it. Because that was the thing, was I always got horrible neck hair, which technically I still do. I need to shave it soon, but now it's hidden with the actual beard.
We mentioned doppelgangers, and now we have a 5-minute treatise on beards.
Yeah,
it's what we do.
Well, also, that's the thing, is that you bring up the Web of Fear with Nicholas Courtney. Talk about doppelgangers, because he was in the Daleks' master plan as well. So some sort of doppelganger thing going on there too.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
natural disasters. See, most of these notes on this now is all explained. So they were put there specifically, and they were tricked into doing all these natural disasters. I still don't know why. I bet in the novelization they say it more specifically, which actually I saw a lot of people when we did the Abominable Snowman. A lot of people said this was their favorite novelization. I don't remember what people said about the episode, but their favorite Doctor Who novel was the Abominable Snowman.
And I wish we had time to read the novelizations, but maybe when I retire. So at least another year before I retire.
Yeah. So. Let's see. I like how they got Bruce to trust them. With the Doctor giving him back the weapon and stuff like that. Again, just shows how smart the Doctor is and how he doesn't need to resort to violence. And of course, again, now we know that part of the violence the Doctor was going against was Kent, because he was specifically trying to kill Salamander.
Now, I really do like the way that they set up Bruce from the very beginning, from the first episode. He said, I work for the organization, but my loyalty is not to Salamander, it is to the rule of law. So he is set up right from the very beginning as a guy who says, you show me the proof and I'll act on it.
Yeah.
So that very strong characterization, very good writing.
Yeah, it's definitely, and especially when you put him against Bennick, because Bennick is clearly a true believer of his Lord Salamander. Yeah. So, which that's the thing too. The more I think about it, okay, so he's more of a true loyalist to Salamander, but Bennick, he works for him, but if you have other proof against him, then he'll go against him. I was like, that sounds familiar. Their whole dynamic sounds like things happening today in politics. So, that was pretty interesting. Although obviously, Patrick Troughton as Salamander is just a much more appealing person.
And again, as a writer and as a director, I love the contrast between Bennick and Bruce.
Yeah.
Bruce, big, overpowering man, but doesn't use that brute force. This is the guy that says, "Hey, here's the rules. I play by the rules. I can bend them if I need to." And then Bennick is just this little slight, slimy little slug of a man.
Yeah.
And so again, very well written, and congratulations to both the actors.
Yeah, the two of them were really good. Let's see. Let's see. I mean, I did write down Colin. I thought he was interesting that, like, you know, he was kind of... I guess he wasn't really the true believer down there. Like, everyone else was like, oh, you know, you have to believe in Salamander. You know, if he says it's bad up there, then we shouldn't go up there. But he was more like, no, let me take my chances up there.
Well, again, they talked about the fact that he was just a teenager when he went down there. And teens do have a tendency to question authority.
Yeah, I mean, presumably 5 years away from society, and he was a teenager, he probably hasn't fully left that mindset. You know, he's probably, even if he has matured, he's matured where there's like maybe 20 people down there.
Yeah.
So less, actually, because they said they were feeding 30 people, but 12 of them were the guards on the surface. So yeah. Let's see. It is interesting that, you know, Swan dies after we said, you know, oh, well, he'll be the one to give the evidence and, you know, that will convince Bruce and that's how they take down Salamander. Then he dies and is like, okay, what do we do now? And Astrid goes down there and finds all the other people. I was waiting for the moment where she would get axed or at least just knocked out by Salamander, but that really didn't come back. Honestly, Salamander kind of disappears for a chunk of the last 2 episodes, honestly. So, and especially in this episode where he really, like, you know, well, and obviously because anytime it cuts to Salamander, you have to question, is this Salamander or is this the Doctor? And sometimes it gets you, you know, like with how, like, okay, sometimes we're like, okay, it's Salamander and Bruce. Like, okay, well, that has to be the Doctor because the Doctor was with Bruce. But then when it's just Salamander, it's like, I don't know. And then he is the Doctor, and it's like, oh, he's too good. So, but yeah, he's pretty much out for a chunk of, like, the final episode until he kills Kent and then makes his way into the TARDIS. So yeah, I found that interesting. You know, we're just sort of waiting for Astrid to fail, but then she doesn't, and that's how they get the people to go not only against Salamander, but then to reveal the whole plot twist with Kent.
Yeah.
Which really came out of left field, I feel like. Which, it's a good twist, definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they showed up and it's like, oh, I heard from them. It was you this whole time, Kent. I heard you just say, what? It's like, I don't know. I didn't know that was on the table. So.
But good writing.
Yeah. Because they don't even say, like, you know, when she meets them, like, oh, well, it was Salamander and this other person, you know, and it puts it in your mind. It's like, oh, who could it be? And then you realize it's Ken. It's like, no, they just talk about Salamander. Suddenly they get up. They had a nice chat about Kent as well. So, but still, a good twist. And then, yeah, the only other stuff is, like, again, so, like, the whole plan does make sense, you know, trapping these people in there to get them to think that they need to be doing these natural disasters. Again, we're just not sure what the natural disasters are for. Like, obviously, Kent and Salamander wanted to use them to control the world and, you know, take out different people or get, you know, blackmail and stuff like that. But what were the people thinking they were doing by causing these natural disasters? Yeah. So, also wonder how many people were there to begin with. Because he's had to take a couple people, you know, up to the surface, you know, give them the old Yeller treatment and be done with them. And no one is any the wiser every time he does it. So, like, how many people were down there to begin with, you know?
Yeah.
And why didn't Swan realize that as soon as it's like, I want to go to the surface? And he's like, well, okay, I mean, I can take you to the surface, you know? So, oh well. It's also interesting that Salamander survived that explosion. So that wasn't... I guess the explosion was further away than I thought it was. I thought that exact panel exploded right there. And I thought, oh, well, that would have killed both of them. And that's just that. And then he... Not only does he get out of there with injuries, somehow he finds the TARDIS.
Exactly how far away was the TARDIS?
I was about to say, would that not still be in Australia? So, but they, yeah, because the research center was in the Central European zone, I think. So, how did he get there? How did he get there before the Doctor? I'm not.
Yeah, don't ask too many questions.
It's a small little plot point, but then we got the Doctor versus Salamander, which was interesting. Again, you think like, oh, okay, so he's just gonna get knocked out while they're holding on to the stuff. He's gonna get knocked out, and they take off. That leads us into the next serial. But no, he's not knocked out on Earth. He's knocked out into the time vortex. It makes me wonder if, like, maybe they left that a little open so he could come back at some point. Which, I mean, obviously it'd be easy enough to bring him back so long as you have Patrick Troughton there. So, although it would be hilarious if, like, Salamander comes back for a third Doctor story, so they bring back Troughton to be the villain against John Pertwee or something. But I kind of doubt that. I kind of doubt they will ever bring back Salamander, but maybe they left that a little open, so maybe he could come back someday.
I thought it was just, just desserts, poetic justice that he tried one last scam and that ultimately ended up causing his demise.
Yeah. I also like because, he's obviously never met the Doctor until that point, so he just keeps quiet while he's in the TARDIS because he doesn't know what accent he would need to do. So yeah, that was pretty interesting. But that's all I got. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
All right. Well, next up is The Web of Fear, which will be a rewatch once again. Excuse me. I think because it's still 6 parts, we will go ahead and split it up over 2 weeks. It might just be that because of that, like, the first part might be a bit of a shorter video because, well, we'll be talking about and stuff that we will now we'll understand a bit more. I don't imagine that it will be too long of a video, like Tomb of the Cybermen. I think the Tomb of the Cybermen re-reaction was actually like 20 minutes longer than our original reaction.
Well, we had more background. We had more. Trying to think of the word, but we had now that we fully understood all of the circumstances behind it, we were able to make some other statements about it.
Yeah, and we also had the Q&A at the end of that one. So I imagine if we do another Q&A for the Web of Fear, we'll probably do it on the second video once we go through all 6 episodes. Yeah. I also noticed that, because we're watching this on Amazon through BritBox, which is how we have our glorious subtitles. I actually did notice that part 3 is on Amazon, the reconstructed episode, and I took a look at it real quick just to make sure it was all okay. And it's a very good, high quality. It's about the same recon that we watched originally, but it does have subtitles. So this will be the first and maybe only time we ever watch a recon with subtitles, which will be really nice.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we will have already seen the episode, but oh well. And unfortunately, we also can't... they are doing an animation for that specific episode of The Web of Fear, but it's coming out like way later in 2021, so oh well.
All right.
But that's basically it. You got anything else?
I got nothing.
You got nothing else. All right. Then with all that being said, we're Alex and Dad from 7th Hour Films, and we will see you guys next time. Take care. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this. I'm going to start that over. All right, guys. Thanks for watching this video. If you want to watch more of our Doctor Who classic reactions, you can click on the playlist. You can subscribe if you haven't done that already. And be sure you hit that notification bell. You can support me on Patreon and follow me on social media. Links below in the description. See you guys later.